Subscribe to Infidelity Tales Lab for more stories. Now, let's begin this one. Marcus Bryant stood in the workshop at 2 a.m., his hands steady as he welded the final joint on a custom steel railing. The orange sparks illuminated his face, highlighting the dark circles under his eyes. He hadn't slept properly in weeks, but tonight was different. Tonight, he worked because he wanted to, not because he was avoiding home. There was no home to avoid anymore. The divorce papers had been served 3 months ago, and today, technically was the final hearing. Melissa wanted everything. Not half. Everything. The business, the house, the savings, even his late father's workshop tools. Her lawyer, Carlton Simmons, had filed papers claiming Marcus had contributed nothing of value to the marriage or the business. That Marcus Steel and Design was built on family money, her family's money. It was an impressive lie. Marcus removed his welding helmet and examined the railing. Perfect as always. He'd started this business 8 years ago with $3,000, a rented garage, and skills his father taught him before cancer took him. Every piece of equipment, every contract, every dollar he'd earned it with his hands and his mind. He thought back to how it started. Fresh out of a technical college, working 3 jobs, sleeping 4 hours a night. He'd met Melissa Bryant, Melissa Davidson back then, at a gallery opening where his first major piece was displayed. A sculptural staircase that had taken him 6 months to design and build. She'd been charming, interested in his work, supportive of his dreams. Or so he'd thought. Marcus always had such wonderful dreams, she'd told friends at their wedding. I can't wait to help him achieve them. She'd helped, in her way. Melissa had a business degree and offered to handle the administrative side while he focused on design and fabrication. It seemed perfect. He'd given her access to accounts, made her a partner on paper, trusted her with everything. The betrayal hadn't been sudden. Looking back, Marcus could see the signs he'd missed. Small things at first: Melissa questioning his decisions, suggesting they hire managers, pushing him to step back from the creative process. Her mother, Gloria Davidson, had moved to town 2 years into the marriage, and that's when things truly shifted. Gloria was old money, or at least she acted like it. Her family had owned a successful textile business decades ago, sold it before the industry collapsed. She'd lived off that money ever since, never working a day, and she'd raised Melissa with the same entitled expectations. To Gloria, Marcus was beneath her daughter, a craftsman, a manual laborer who got his hands dirty. Melissa could have married Benjamin Lowe, Gloria had said once, not bothering to lower her voice at a family dinner. A lawyer from a good family. Instead, she's watching her husband play with metal in a garage. Marcus had ignored it then. He'd ignored a lot of things. The real problem started 18 months ago. Melissa had come home from lunch with her mother and announced she wanted to rebrand the business. Hire a new designer. Make Marcus just the CEO, the face of the company, who didn't actually create anything anymore. You've taken it as far as you can with your skills, she'd said, her voice sweet with condescension. We need to bring in real talent to reach the next level. Real talent. As if the 50 commission pieces, the features in architectural magazines, the waiting list of clients meant nothing. Marcus had refused. It was his art, his vision, his life's work. The argument had been spectacular. Melissa had cried, accused him of not trusting her business judgment, of being controlling. Gloria had called him ungrateful, reminded him that Melissa had sacrificed her own career to help him. What career? Melissa had worked as an office manager for 6 months before they married. She quit the moment Marcus's business started showing profit. After that fight, Melissa changed. She became cold, calculating. She started documenting everything, taking photos of their home, keeping receipts, building a narrative. Marcus saw it happening but didn't understand why until the divorce papers arrived. The claim was simple and devastating. Melissa had funded the business with her inheritance. Marcus had contributed nothing but basic labor. She deserved the company, the assets, everything. Her lawyer had somehow produced documents showing money transfers, investment records, even contracts with her name listed as primary owner. Marcus's lawyer, Bernard McIntyre, was good but overwhelmed. They've been planning this for a long time, Bernard had said at their first meeting, his weathered face grim. These documents, some of them go back years. Did you sign anything without reading it? Marcus had signed plenty. He'd trusted his wife. That trust now looked like stupidity. The preliminary hearings had been brutal. Carlton Simmons was a shark, expensive, ruthless, and very good at his job. He painted Marcus as a manual laborer who got lucky, a man who couldn't have possibly built a multi-million-dollar business without his wife's financial backing and business acumen. Mr. Bryant is a talented welder, Carlton had said in one hearing, his voice dripping with contempt. But welding and running a company are very different skills. Miss Davidson provided the capital, the business strategy, and the connections that made Marcus Steel and Design successful. Melissa sat beside her lawyer, nodding with practiced sadness, playing the role of a woman who'd given everything to an ungrateful husband. Gloria sat behind her, eyes sharp with triumph. Marcus had wanted to shout, to rage, to demand they prove any of it, but Bernard had counseled patience. Let them think they're winning, Bernard had said. We'll get our chance. That chance was in 8 hours. Marcus locked up the workshop and drove through empty streets to the small apartment he'd rented after moving out of his house that he'd bought with his own money, though that was apparently up for debate now. He showered, put on the suit Bernard had insisted on, and made coffee he didn't drink. At 5 a.m., his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Good luck today. You'll need it. M. Melissa. Still twisting the knife. Marcus deleted the text and picked up the manila envelope sitting on his kitchen table. It was thick, stuffed with documents he'd been compiling for months. Evidence that would change everything. He'd spent the last 3 months doing what he did best, building something carefully, precisely, with perfect attention to detail. But this time, he wasn't building art. He was building a case. A trap. Bernard didn't even know half of what was in this envelope. Marcus had kept it close, worked on it alone, verified every detail. Because if there was one thing 8 years of running a business had taught him, it was this: documentation beats lies. Facts beat fiction, and patience beats panic. Melissa and Gloria thought they'd been clever. They'd forged documents, manipulated records, built a false narrative. They'd assumed Marcus was too trusting, too focused on his work to notice the details. They'd assumed wrong. The courthouse was busy even at 8:30 a.m. Marcus arrived early and found Bernard waiting outside the courtroom, looking nervous. You ready? Bernard asked. More than ready. Marcus patted the envelope. This is everything we need. Marcus, I should review. Trust me, Bernard. I've checked everything twice. They entered the courtroom. Melissa was already there with Carlton and Gloria. Melissa wore a cream-colored dress that probably cost more than Marcus's rent. Her blonde hair styled perfectly, her expression composed. She looked like the victim she was pretending to be. Gloria sat behind her, dressed in black like she was attending a funeral. In a way, she was. Just not Marcus's. When Melissa's eyes met Marcus's, she smiled. Not a warm smile, a satisfied smile. The smile of someone who thought they'd already won. Carlton Simmons approached Bernard. Counselor, my client is prepared to be generous. Mr. Bryant can keep his tools, and perhaps a small cash settlement. We'll waive alimony claims if he signs the business over cleanly. We'll present our case to the judge, Bernard replied stiffly. Suit yourself, but you're fighting a losing battle. Carlton's confidence was absolute. Judge Richard Morrison entered, and everyone rose. Morrison was in his early 60s, a no-nonsense jurist with a reputation for fairness and a deep dislike of liars. Marcus had researched him carefully. Please be seated, Morrison said. I've reviewed the preliminary findings and both party submissions. This is a final hearing for property division in the divorce of Melissa Davidson Bryant and Marcus Bryant. Miss Davidson's counsel, you may proceed. Carlton stood, straightening his expensive suit. Your Honor, this case is straightforward. Miss Davidson invested her personal inheritance, approximately $200,000, into her husband's business venture. She provided strategic guidance, business connections, and administrative expertise that transformed a small welding operation into Marcus Steel and Design, now valued at approximately $8 million. Mr. Bryant, while talented with his hands, contributed primarily physical labor. The business exists because of Miss Davidson's financial and intellectual contributions. We have extensive documentation proving her investments and ownership stake. He presented a stack of papers to the judge. Contracts, transfer records, investment documents, all carefully forged over the past 2 years. Morrison reviewed them without expression. Mr. McIntyre? Bernard stood, less polished but determined. Your Honor, Mr. Bryant built this business from nothing with his own capital, skill, and vision. The documents presented by opposing counsel are suspect, and we have evidence that contradicts their claims. Mr. Bryant founded Marcus Steel and Design with $3,000 he'd saved from working multiple jobs. Every major piece, every important design, every client relationship, he built it all. Do you have documentation? Morrison asked. Some, Your Honor. But much of the early business was cash-based, and Mr. Bryant admits he was not meticulous about record-keeping in the first years. He trusted his wife to handle administration. Carlton smiled. And therein lies the problem, Your Honor. Mr. Bryant has no proof of his claims. My client has extensive documentation. The evidence speaks for itself. Morrison looked at Marcus. Mr. Bryant, did you contribute financially to starting this business? Marcus stood. Yes, Your Honor. $3,000 I'd saved, plus I used equipment my father left me when he died. The initial investment was all mine. Can you prove the $3,000? I have the withdrawal record from my bank account, dated 8 years ago. But Your Honor, I have something else. Marcus held up the manila envelope. With your permission, I'd like to submit this evidence. Carlton's smile faltered slightly. Your Honor, we weren't notified of additional evidence. It's all legal, Your Honor. Bernard interjected quickly. Personal records and documentation Mr. Bryant compiled himself. We're happy to have opposing counsel review it. Morrison considered. Approached the bench. Both lawyers walked forward with Marcus. He handed the envelope to the judge. Morrison opened it, pulled out the first document, and began reading. His eyebrows rose. He read another page. Then another. The silence stretched. Marcus watched Melissa's confident expression begin to crack. Gloria leaned forward, whispering to her daughter. Finally, Morrison looked up. Mr. Simmons, you're going to want to see this. Carlton took the documents, started reading, and his face went pale. He flipped through pages faster, his confidence evaporating with each one. Your Honor, Carlton said weakly, I need time to review. We'll take a 30-minute recess. Morrison said. All parties remain available. Mr. Simmons, I suggest you consult with your client. His tone made it clear this wasn't a suggestion. Morrison left the bench. Carlton grabbed the documents and rushed to Melissa and Gloria. Marcus watched as Carlton spread papers on their table and began explaining in urgent whispers. Melissa's face went from confident to confused to horrified. Gloria's expression twisted with rage. Their whispered argument grew heated enough that the bailiff glanced their way. Bernard pulled Marcus aside. What the hell is in there? Marcus allowed himself a small smile. The truth. 30 minutes later, they reconvened. Melissa looked shaken. Gloria looked furious. Carlton looked like a man who just realized he'd bet everything on a losing hand. Morrison returned to the bench. Before we proceed, I want to confirm some facts. Mr. Bryant, you claim you compiled this evidence yourself? Yes, Your Honor. And it's all legally obtained? Yes, Your Honor. Bank records from my own accounts, business documents I retained copies of, communication records from email accounts I controlled, security footage from my workshop which I own, and audio recordings from my home and vehicle which are legal in this state with single-party consent. Melissa's head snapped up. Audio recordings. Marcus saw the moment she understood. Morrison nodded. Miss Davidson, your attorney has reviewed the evidence. Do you wish to revise any of your claims? Carlton stood quickly. Your Honor, my client maintains. I asked Miss Davidson. Morrison's voice was sharp. Melissa stood slowly. I need to consult with my attorney. You've had 30 minutes. Yes or no? Do you wish to revise your claims? The courtroom was silent. Marcus could hear his own heartbeat. No. Melissa finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. I don't. Very well. Morrison picked up the first document. Let's begin with this bank record from 8 years ago. Mr. Bryant, this shows a withdrawal of $3,000 from your personal savings account dated June 15th, 8 years ago. The notation says, business startup. Is that correct? Yes, Your Honor. And this next document is your father's will, showing you inherited his workshop equipment, tools, and a small work truck, all of which you used to start your business. Correct? Yes, Your Honor. Morrison continued, methodically working through the evidence. Business receipts from the first year, all showing Marcus as the sole proprietor. Client contracts with his signature alone. Then came the devastating parts. Now, this document is interesting, Morrison said, holding up a paper. It's a bank record, showing a transfer of $50,000 from Miss Davidson to her mother, Gloria Davidson, dated 3 years ago. Miss Davidson, can you explain this transfer? Melissa's face went white. That was a loan to my mother. Did she repay it? Silence. Your Honor, Carlton interjected. I failed to see the relevance. The relevance, Counselor, is that Miss Davidson claims she invested $200,000 of her inheritance into her husband's business. Yet here's a $50,000 transfer to her mother. Here's another for $30,000. Here's a $45,000 purchase of a luxury car. In total, I see transfers and purchases totaling approximately $180,000, none of which went to Marcus Steel and Design. So where exactly did this claimed business investment come from? Carlton said nothing. Melissa stared at the table. Morrison continued. But what's truly fascinating is this next set of documents. Mr. Bryant has provided emails between Miss Davidson and her mother, dating back 2 years. Let me read one, dated January 10th, 2 years ago. Miss Davidson writes, Mom, you were right. I need to position myself to take the business when I'm ready. Marcus is so focused on his work. He doesn't notice what I'm changing in the documents. I've already modified 3 client contracts to list myself as primary contact. When the time comes, I'll have everything I need. The courtroom erupted. The few spectators gasped. Carlton looked like he might be sick. Melissa's face was crimson. Your Honor, Carlton tried. Email can be faked, which is why Mr. Bryant provided access to the original email server, which I had our IT specialist verify this morning. They're genuine. Would you like me to read more? There are dozens. Miss Davidson and Mrs. Davidson discussing how to forge investment documents, how to manipulate business records, how to manufacture a narrative that Miss Davidson was the true owner. There's even discussion of hiring a specific lawyer, you, Mr. Simmons, because of your reputation for aggressive asset seizure. Carlton sat down heavily. But wait, Morrison said, and Marcus could swear he saw the judge fighting a smile. It gets better. Mr. Bryant also submitted audio recordings. Minnesota is a one-party consent state, and Mr. Bryant was present for all these recordings, making them legal. And one, recorded in the marital home 6 months ago. Miss Davidson and Mrs. Davidson discussed their plan explicitly. Would the court like to hear it? No, Melissa said quickly. No, please. I think we should, Morrison said. He nodded to the bailiff, who set up an audio player. Melissa's voice came through the speakers, clear and damning. Mother, Marcus is such an idiot. He actually thinks I love him. When we're done, he'll have nothing. The business will be mine, the house will be mine, and he'll go back to being a nobody welder in some garage. Carlton said with the documents we've created, there's no way Marcus can fight it. Gloria's voice responded, good. He never deserved you. Once you have the business, we'll sell it and you can find a real husband. Someone from a proper family. Melissa's laugh. God, remember when he proposed? With that cheap ring? I should have known then he'd never amount to anything without my help. The recording stopped. The silence was deafening. Melissa was crying now, but they weren't sympathetic tears. She looked trapped, desperate. Gloria's face was stone, her eyes filled with hate as she stared at Marcus. Morrison set down his papers. Miss Davidson, you've committed perjury in my courtroom. You've presented forged documents. You've attempted to defraud your husband of his life's work. Mrs. Davidson, you've conspired in this fraud. He turned to Carlton. Mr. Simmons, did you know these documents were forged? Carlton stood, his voice shaking. Your Honor, I relied on my client's representations. I had no knowledge. I believe you, Counselor. But you'll want to distance yourself from this client immediately. Carlton nodded, looking relieved. Morrison looked at Marcus. Mr. Bryant, I'm prepared to rule. But first, is there anything else? Marcus stood. Just one more thing, Your Honor. I want to show why the business is worth what it's worth. He pulled out a portfolio. These are designs I created. Every major commission, every featured piece, I designed it. I built it. I installed it. Here's documentation from clients confirming they hired Marcus Steele and designed specifically for my work. Here's testimony from 3 employees confirming I do all design and fabrication work, while Miss Davidson handled only basic scheduling. The business is worth $8 million because of my skill, my reputation, my art. He set down the portfolio. Miss Davidson tried to steal my life's work. She tried to take everything I built and leave me with nothing. I just want what's mine. Morrison nodded slowly. The court finds the following. Marcus Steele and Design was founded solely by Marcus Bryant with his own capital and resources. Miss Davidson's claims of financial investment are fabricated. The documents submitted by Miss Davidson are forgeries. Miss Davidson has committed perjury and attempted fraud. He looked directly at Melissa. Miss Davidson, you will receive nothing from this marriage. No portion of the business. No alimony, nothing. You're fortunate I'm not holding you in contempt, but I am referring this matter to the district attorney's office for potential criminal prosecution. You have attempted to steal $8 million through fraud. That's grand theft by any definition. Melissa was sobbing now. Gloria stood, shouting, "This is ridiculous. My daughter deserves. Your daughter deserves prison," Morrison snapped. "Sit down, Mrs. Davidson, or I'll hold you in contempt." Gloria sat, shaking with rage. Morrison continued. Furthermore, the marital home was purchased with Mr. Bryant's business earnings. It belongs to him. Joint savings will be divided equally. That's $40,000 for each party. But that's all Miss Davidson will receive. Mr. Bryant, Marcus Steele and Design is yours, free and clear. This court orders Miss Davidson to surrender any and all business documents, keys, passwords, and access within 24 hours. He banged his gavel. Divorce granted. This hearing is concluded. Marcus let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. It was over. He'd won. Bernard grabbed his shoulder. Holy shit, Marcus. That was. I've never seen anything like that. Why didn't you show me all of this earlier? Because I needed you to be genuine, Marcus said quietly. If you'd known what I had, you might have acted differently. I needed them to think they were winning until the moment they lost. Bernard shook his head in amazement. You played them perfectly. Across the courtroom, Carlton was gathering his papers, avoiding Melissa's desperate attempts to speak with him. Gloria was on her phone, probably calling someone to rant about the injustice. Melissa just sat, destroyed. Marcus walked past them without a word. He'd said everything he needed to say. But as he reached the door, Melissa's voice stopped him. Marcus, wait. Please. He turned. She looked small now, fragile. All her confidence stripped away. This wasn't supposed to happen like this, she said. I thought. Carlton said we'd win. He said you couldn't fight it. You thought I was stupid, Marcus said calmly. You thought I was just a dumb craftsman who wouldn't notice his wife plotting to destroy him. But that was your mistake, Melissa. I built an $8 million business from nothing. You think I'm not smart enough to see you coming? We were married, she whispered. Doesn't that mean anything? It did. To me. But you and your mother? You saw me as a mark, someone to use and discard. Well, congratulations. You got exactly what you deserved. He walked out of the courtroom into sunlight that felt brighter than it had in months. 3 days later, Marcus stood in his workshop, his legally confirmed, solely owned workshop. The business accounts had been secured, new locks installed, all of Melissa's access revoked. She'd turned over the keys and passwords without further fight. The threat of criminal prosecution had a remarkable way of ensuring cooperation. The district attorney had indeed opened an investigation. Bernard said Melissa and Gloria would likely face charges for fraud, forgery, and conspiracy. Carlton Simmons had already filed a motion to withdraw as their attorney and was reportedly furious about being used in their scheme. Marcus's phone rang. A client. Mr. Bryant? I heard about your divorce. I just wanted to say, I'm glad it worked out. Your work is exceptional, and I've got another project I'd like to discuss. More calls came throughout the day. Clients checking in, offering support, wanting to hire him for new projects. Word had spread about the courtroom showdown. Instead of damaging his reputation, the whole affair had somehow enhanced it. Marcus Bryant, the artist who'd built an empire from nothing and defended it against his own wife. He was welding a new piece when Bernard stopped by that evening. The DA called, Bernard said. Melissa's trying to cut a deal. She'll plead guilty to lesser charges if they don't prosecute her mother. What do you think? Marcus asked. I think Gloria was the mastermind. But Melissa still forged those documents. She's an adult who made her choices. Bernard paused. What do you want? Marcus thought about it. The anger had faded, replaced by something calmer. Tell the DA I won't oppose whatever they decide. I got what I want in my business, my life back. The legal system can handle the rest. That's generous considering what she tried to do. It's not generous. It's closure. I'm done letting them live in my head rent-free. After Bernard left, Marcus returned to his work. The piece he was building was a custom gate for a private estate, intricate scrollwork, incorporating the client's family history. It would take weeks to complete, require absolute precision, and pay enough to hire another assistant. This was what he loved. Not the money, though that was nice. Not the recognition, though he appreciated it. He loved the work itself. The challenge of taking raw metal and transforming it into art. The satisfaction of solving complex design problems. The tangible proof that his hands and mind could create something beautiful and lasting. Melissa never understood that. She saw the business as a means to an end: money, status, security. She never grasped that, for Marcus, the business was the art, and the art was everything. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You destroyed my daughter's life. I hope you're proud. Way. Gloria. Still bitter. Still blaming everyone but herself. Marcus deleted the text and blocked the number. Some people would never learn. Gloria had raised Melissa to be entitled, greedy, and contemptuous of people who actually worked for a living. Now, both were facing consequences for that worldview. He thought about sending a response, something cutting. But what was the point? He'd already won the only battle that mattered. A week later, Marcus was featured in a local business magazine. How I Built Marcus Steel and Design. One Artist's Journey, the headline read. The article detailed his start, his techniques, his philosophy. It mentioned the divorce only in passing. Bryant recently prevailed in a difficult legal battle that confirmed his sole ownership of the company. The article brought more clients, more recognition. Marcus hired 2 new assistants to help with the growing workload. He moved into a larger workshop. He started dating again, casually, nothing serious. He was rediscovering what it meant to live without someone undermining him. Life was good. Better than good. 6 months after the divorce, Marcus received a call from Bernard. You might want to sit down, Bernard said. Melissa and Gloria took a plea deal. Melissa got 2 years probation, community service, and restitution. She has to pay you $50,000 for legal fees and damages. Gloria got 1 year probation. Carlton Simmons is facing a bar investigation for not properly vetting his client's documents, though he'll probably survive it. 2 years probation? Marcus was surprised. That's it? First offense, no prior record. They showed remorse well. They claimed to. The DA figured a criminal record and public humiliation was punishment enough. Plus, you got your business, and they got nothing. The judge considered that when sentencing. Marcus thought about it. 2 years of probation wasn't much for attempted fraud of $8 million. But then, they'd already lost everything that mattered. Melissa's reputation was destroyed. Gloria's social standing, which she valued more than anything, was ruined. They'd be known forever as the mother-daughter duo who tried to steal a man's business and failed spectacularly. I can live with that, Marcus said finally. There's one more thing, Bernard added. Gloria's lawyer contacted me. Apparently, she's trying to sell her house to cover legal fees. She's broke. The divorce and criminal cases cleaned her out. The irony was rich. Gloria, who'd looked down on Marcus for working with his hands, was now penniless while he was thriving. Thanks for letting me know, Marcus said. And Bernard, thanks for everything. You did the heavy lifting, Marcus. I just stood there looking professional. After hanging up, Marcus walked through his expanded workshop. 3 employees worked on different projects: a staircase, a gate, a sculptural installation. All his designs, all his vision. He'd built this, not with family money or connections or fraud, with skill, determination, and 8 years of relentless work. Melissa had wanted to take it all and leave him with nothing. Instead, she'd lost everything while he gained something invaluable, the unshakable knowledge that he'd earned every bit of his success. No one had given it to him. No one could take it away. His phone rang again. A new client, a hospital commissioning a memorial sculpture for their lobby. High profile, prestigious, well-paying. Marcus smiled and answered the call. This was his life now. The one he'd built himself. The one he defended and won. And it felt damn good. 1 year after the divorce, Marcus received an unexpected visitor at his workshop. He was training a new apprentice when the door opened and a woman walked in. Not Melissa. He recognized her, though Johanna McCarthy, Melissa's cousin. They'd met a few times at family events. Marcus, she said, looking uncomfortable. Can we talk? He stepped outside with her. What's this about? I wanted to apologize, Johanna said. I knew what Melissa and Aunt Gloria were planning. Not all of it, but enough. I should have warned you. Marcus studied her. Why didn't you? Family loyalty, I guess. And honestly, I didn't think they'd go through with it. I thought it was just talk, just bitterness. She looked down. I was wrong. What they did to you was monstrous. Yeah, it was. Melissa's life is a disaster now. Johanna continued. She's working retail, living with Gloria in a tiny apartment. No one from the family talks to them anymore. They're pariahs. And Gloria, she's just angry all the time. Bitter. She blames you for everything. Of course she does. I just wanted you to know that not everyone in that family supported what they did. Some of us think you're amazing for building what you built, and I'm sorry for not speaking up. Marcus nodded. I appreciate you saying that. Johanna left, and Marcus returned to his work. The visit was strange but somehow satisfying. Even Melissa's own family had turned on her. He thought about Melissa working retail, living in poverty with her mother. Part of him, a small, vindictive part, felt satisfaction. But mostly, he just felt relief. Relief that he'd escaped. Relief that his life was his own again. That evening, Marcus had dinner with Naomi McIntosh, a structural engineer he'd been seeing for 3 months. She was smart, independent, and genuinely interested in his work. No games, no manipulation, just honesty. You seem happy, Naomi said over dessert. I am, Marcus realized. For the first time in years, I actually am. Think you'll ever get married again? Maybe. Someday. When I find someone who sees me as a partner, not a paycheck. Naomi smiled. Good answer. They walked through the city after dinner, talking about everything and nothing. Marcus thought about how different this felt from his time with Melissa. No tension, no hidden agendas. Just two people enjoying each other's company. His phone buzzed. He ignored it. Whatever it was could wait. Later, he checked. An email from a museum curator in Chicago. They wanted to commission a major installation for their modern art wing. The budget was substantial, the exposure invaluable. Marcus smiled and started mentally sketching designs. Life kept getting better. The business grew. His reputation spread beyond the region. He was invited to speak at design conferences, featured in national magazines. Awards started coming, recognition from his industry peers for excellence in metalwork and sculpture. Every success felt earned because it was earned. Every piece of recognition meant something because no one had manufactured it for him. He'd built this life with his own hands and mind, and no one could ever take that away. 2 years after the divorce, Marcus received one final communication from Melissa, a letter, handwritten, delivered to his workshop. Marcus, it read, I know you probably hate me. I deserve that. I've had 2 years to think about what I did, and I'm ashamed. Mother convinced me you were beneath me, that you didn't deserve what you'd built. I believed her because it was easier than admitting I was jealous of your talent and success. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that I understand now. You built something beautiful, and I tried to destroy it because I couldn't stand that you did it without needing me. I thought I was essential, but I was just along for the ride. You're going to do amazing things, Marcus. I wish I could have been the partner you deserved instead of the anchor I became. I'm sorry. For everything. Melissa. Marcus read the letter twice, then filed it away. Not in the trash, he wasn't angry enough for that anymore. But not somewhere prominent either. It was closure, nothing more. He'd moved on, built a new life, found someone who appreciated him for who he was, not what he could provide. His business thrived, his art evolved, he was happy. That was the best revenge, not destruction, but success. Not tearing them down, but building himself up. Melissa and Gloria had tried to take everything, and in doing so, they'd given him something invaluable, the absolute certainty of his own worth. Marcus Bryant had started with $3,000 and a dream. He'd built an empire, lost it all in a courtroom, and won it back with preparation, intelligence, and unshakable proof of his own work. Some stories end with dramatic confrontations and public destructions. This one ended with a man standing in his workshop at midnight, welding a new piece, completely at peace with himself and his life. He'd faced his enemies and won. Not through violence or escalation, but through patience and proof. He'd let them think they were winning, let them commit fully to their fraud, then destroyed them with the truth. It was elegant, efficient, and most importantly, it worked. Marcus finished the weld, examined it critically, and nodded in satisfaction. Perfect. Like everything else he built, he cleaned up, locked the workshop, and drove home to the life he'd earned. Tomorrow would bring new projects, new challenges, new opportunities. But tonight, he'd savor this simple truth. He'd won. Completely, definitively, deservedly. And that was enough. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen. And I'll see you there.